There is an encouragement at the end of the book of Matthew. And this encouragement at the end of the book of Matthew is for us to share what God has revealed to us. And this international and worldwide religion at this point in time was started effectively by a group of Jewish men who were from the rural area north of Jerusalem called the Galilee. And this rural group of men were not educated. They had not gone to the equivalent of the Ivy League schools at that point in time. They were businessmen. They were effective. They were making a living. They were caring for their families. They were living a life in a backwater area that nobody would have ever expected, and anybody would have ever heard of any of these guys, because they were not from the academy, they were not popular, they were not important, they didn't wield power, they didn't lead militaries, they didn't do any of the things that causes people to be remembered. But an itinerant teacher who was born under circumstances that were considered miraculous at the time, and maybe even today too, ended up putting them together, drawing them together, doing ministry, teaching, involving people in what he was up to. And as he did this, what ended up happening is there was a transformation, there was a change. Things ended up happening. Now, these guys who followed this teacher continued to run their businesses, continued to participate in their communities, and continued to make time for their teacher. And over a period of time, what ends up happening is there's a transformation that happens to them. And at the very end, in the book of Matthew, Yeshua talks about them going to the ends of the earth, to taking the message, to taking what he had taught them and teaching it to the area, Judea, which was the center of the Jewish people, to Jerusalem, Judea, and to the nations, to the ends of the earth, to peoples of every tribe, nation, and tongue. And now it is not uncommon to understand that there are people who follow this faith, who follow this instruction, who follow the Bible, and who follow this teacher, Yeshua of Nazareth, from every nation, tribe, and tongue. But how this happened was there was a cadre or a group of people who were convinced that this was life, that this was truth, that this had been of extraordinary benefit to them, and that this was of extraordinary benefit to anybody else who would end up hearing this message, walking in this fashion, delivering themselves over to this, leaving behind their own sin and their own wickedness, repenting, turning from themselves to turning to God, and receiving the gift of the Spirit of the Most High God, who would be internally in them, who would be very hard to externally verify from anybody else, but would end up continuing to take them on the path of teaching, the path of learning, the path of gaining knowledge, and the path of caring for the world in the way that God cares for the world. This was foundational. This is how it started. And in every generation, there are those who continue to live in this fashion. And if you're not familiar with this, I believe that your being alone with God and asking him about what I'm discussing might end up starting you on a point of great adventure yourself. Shalom.